What you're about to see is truly terrifying because there are things you can do anywhere else in the world, but you just can't do or say in India. And as someone who sees all the terrible stuff done by tourists or even the locals all the time, I'm covering the top 10 of those unspoken social rules that I've learned the hard way so you don't need to.
And I'll break all of them in the order of still kind of okay to the worst mistake you could possibly make. And we're starting with the first one.
And number 10 is to rely too much on cash and believe you can pay for everything with it. Because if you've never been to India, you won't believe how advanced India has become when it comes to digital payment. Ever since a thing called UPI was invented in India, where you could use your phone to pay for hotels, restaurants, tuk-tuks, and even street vendors, the nation has become more advanced than even Japan. To the point, if you insist on paying cash, many places can't even give you change or they'll outright reject you as a customer. And international credit cards are rarely accepted unless you're in a 5-star hotel, buying train tickets, or big fast food restaurants, so you may want to look into how to set up UPI payment before coming to India.
But if you're only here for a short visit, most places you see take cash, and the bigger hotels and restaurants will take credit cards most of the time. So you should be fine. I hope so.
But you won't be fine if you keep breaking the next mistake on the list, because mistake number 9 is drinking the wrong water. Now you've probably heard of the deadly tap water of India and all the terrible news of tourists almost going to hospitals because they accidentally sipped the water when taking a shower. So you think to yourself, why don't we just use bottled water for everything? For example, Bisleri is the biggest brand for drinking water in India. So that should mean you're safe now, right? Absolutely wrong, because everyone and their mom make their own water to look like Bisleri, with names like Bisleri, Bisleri, and Bahamas, to the point I've never seen anyone selling the real Bisleri outside the big supermarkets, and it's so difficult to find one. So just when you think you're smart, India already outsmarts you, so before you put any water into your mouth, you really need to double check the label.
But you might find out after coming here that it's not as nearly as bad as you thought, as India's drinking water and public health improved so much in the past decade, but still it's better to be safe than sorry.
But the next mistake on the list is so disgusting, not even the sorry can save you. Because mistake number 8 is to come to India to see the poverty for fun, or as we call it over here, the slum tourism. Because you won't believe how many tourists we saw in India only came here to see the poverty unfolding in their eyes so they can laugh and feel good about themselves. But they were disappointed to see India more advanced than the country they came from. Listen, poverty tourism is nothing new. If you're from India, you've seen that type of tourists already. Secondly, those places are usually not the safest. And last but not least, with how fast India is growing, slums and poverty don't really represent life in India anymore. So instead of making fun of people's misery, why don't you just be like a normal tourist and go to a museum instead?
And to think about it, if one day you're the one being poor, would you enjoy tourists treating you like some sort of funny caged animals to take pictures and brag about on social media? Seriously, what's wrong with you?
But things can only go wrong down the list, because mistake number 7 is to wander out into the darkness at night, or even worse, go to shady places alone. Is India the most dangerous? No, but is India the safest? Also a big no. But since the weather is too hot during the day, people have to go out during the night, and you have to go out for dinner too at some point. But unless you live here long enough, you wouldn't know where to and not to go, and what shady neighborhood to avoid at night. Even the locals would strongly suggest not to wander out on your own as a tourist before you know your way around India.
I asked my local friends about this, and they put it this way: unless you have a reason to be out there, best not to be wandering around in the middle of the night. And when you do, don't go to places along with absolutely nobody. We care about your safety on this channel, and you can like and subscribe.
But what is worse than not subscribing to this channel is to make the next mistake when coming to India. And that is mistake number 6, thinking that taxi and Uber will always be there for you whenever you need a ride. And that is simply not the case. And I learned this the hard way too. Let's talk about taxi first, because you see a lot of them when you're out and about. But what you don't know is they can say no to you. In fact, I got rejected more times than I can remember, despite it literally says no refusal on the taxi. And the reasons were simple. A, you're not going where they want to go. And B, if it's too hot, they don't want to drive. And C, if the traffic is too bad, they don't think it's worth the time and effort. But it's even worse when it comes to Uber and other similar apps where you can spend your whole day sending requests requests, and they would just cancel for no reason or suddenly ask for more money to the point I'd rather you learn to take buses in India as opposed to relying too much on taxis. Also, the price is vastly different for taxis with and without air conditioning, so it's better to keep that in mind because India gets so hot during the day, especially in summer, and the one mistake I see tourists make all the time is to not dress for the weather in India. And you might think this is common sense, and everyone knows India is hot, but you won't believe how many tourists that came from Western countries who never experienced this kind of crazy heat wave would come here with jackets and winter pants believing the heat is just a walk in the park. No, it's not. People pass out having heat stroke every single day, to the point many of my Indian friends go to sleep at 11 a.m. and wake up at 5 or 6 p.m. just to avoid the extreme weather. So if you've never been to this part of the world before, at least look up on the internet on what to wear for a trip in India, as well as the best season to visit.
But it's worth noting that the weather forecast in India is almost never accurate, as many times it says 99% chance of rain, but it never rains. It says 28 degrees, but it feels like 40 degrees out there. You have to be prepared.
But that isn't the only mistake tourists are making in India, because mistake number 4 is believing you can hop on the train whenever you want, just like any other nation, but you won't believe how impossible it is to get a train ticket last minute or even the same day in India, as Indian Railway has an infamous wait list where it's common to have hundreds of people waiting to buy the ticket because too many people want to board the train. So it's always better to book your ticket weeks or months in advance compared to running all the way to the station only to be told they have no tickets left to sell. But just because you made it onto the train doesn't mean you're safe, because mistake number 3 is to not have a mask ready whenever you need one. And there are tons of reasons for it. Like, did you know many of the most polluted cities in the world are located in India? To the point people living here don't even want to go out during the rush hours unless necessary, with heart disease and lung cancer being a common health concern over here. And last but not least, unless you've been living in India for long enough, you will have a hard time getting used to the smell in buses, local trains, or even public bathrooms, and it doesn't take up a lot of space anyway, so you might as well pack a few of those masks.
And in crowded places like a bus or shopping centers, it's common to see local people also wearing masks, so no worries, you won't look awkward at all.
But what is even worse than being awkward is coming to India worrying too much about food and safety to the point you're afraid to try anything. And that is our mistake number 2, because you don't know what you're missing out on if you don't try the best local food in India. And yes, I know for tourists coming from Europe or America, your body simply isn't trained for the quality of water and Indian street food, but if you think everything out there is poisonous and you'd rather stay and eat only in the 5-star hotel, then what's the point of coming to India? As you won't believe how India makes the best of everything. Like, where can you find the best pizza in India? And where can you eat the best Chinese, Japanese, or even desserts like ice cream? You guess it, also in India. So just use your common sense when picking a restaurant, and don't be too afraid to try something new.
And the way my friends here taught me to get used to local food and hygiene was by eating a little bit at a time, and starting with fancy restaurants and hotel breakfast. Because if you've never been to this part of the world, it's impossible to tell if your body will be okay or not.
But I do need to point out that eating raw and uncooked food is still unsafe even for the locals, and that includes fruits and vegetables. So you might want to think twice before eating them without washing or cooking them first. But what is totally not okay, whether you're a tourist or not, is to break the biggest mistake on the list, and that is our mistake number 1, going into a Hindu temple without following any rules. And this is where many of the locals draw the line. You can be a terrible tourist anywhere else, but the temple is a sacred place, and it really breaks everyone's heart seeing tourists coming here without taking off their shoes, wearing bikinis or outfit that shows too much of your skin, making loud noises, and the worst of them all, touching the shrines and statues, as just because most Hindu temples are open to the public doesn't mean this is a tourist attraction. And as a foreigner, you really need to respect the culture and religion in India and treat all the temples you see as a sacred place.
But life in India is definitely not what you expect, because in this video, I compare living in India and America to find out which one is the best. But it's totally not what you think, so you can click on the video right now.